The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday.
Is it really already?
Yeah.
Seems like that weekend just flew by.
Yeah, another week to look forward to, and all the machinations that go along with it.
Yeah, well, as you are well aware, because you were just accosted by one of the neighborhood leaders, as was I, this neighborhood leader is very upset because in a property in the city, a political candidate put up a sign, and it's the site of a fire of a house that burnt down, and the place where the sign is located is full of trash. Couldn't this candidate go out there and clean up this trash? This candidate even has the signs being held in place with rocks. Okay? And once I get the pictures, I will have them on the show. But I'm telling you now, candidates, we're going to call you out on this, because what that says to me as a voter and as a citizen of Fall River is that you believe Fall River should be a dump, because your signs are where the dump is.
Well, it could be a very sophisticated political message that we missed, that if you re-elect me as mayor, I will then increase some fees and clean this place up.
Yeah, well...
So maybe that's exactly the message you want to look at this place. It's a mess. So I'm going to put mine, kind of like the pilot program that he put his name on, that knocked the building down. So, maybe it is a sophisticated political message that, see this place, it's an absolute mess. You had a house that burnt. The place is the mess. There's trash and clothes and all kinds of other things all over the yard. You got signs which may be a danger. I mean, the entire property is a danger, obviously, but the sign falls on some child's head that happens to be in that yard. Who knows? Being held by with rocks and probably curbstone from the DCM or something. Who knows? But like I said, it might be a sophisticated message. It's like, hey, you re-elect me, I'll clean this place up. Maybe. If I can get another tax increase and some more fee increases. So, yeah, I don't know. It's getting bizarre. You're seeing signs springing up all over the place. Yep. It's like, signs are just a reminder. You got to look beyond the sign and look at what they've done, what the platform is, how they're going to say they're going to stop the bleeding in Fall River, and that's what you've really got to do.
Yeah, but signs don't vote.
That's right.
Signs don't win elections.
Yes, Ernie Ladera was a great testament to that. There was nobody, I think, in the history of Fall River that had more signs, more bumper stickers, and even his own song. Yeah. And he had his own jingle that you
Ladera.
That's right. Ernie Ladera, he'll be a full-time mayor.
A full-time mayor.
And it was like, oh, God, it won't work today because we got part-time corporation counsel, part-time chief administrator, chief of staff. So I don't know. So it's bizarre. But then again, it's Fall River. That's what makes it so great. This is we should actually sell tickets to an election in Fall River. We might make some money and pump the economy up.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's definitely getting interesting. And I'm gonna go into this headline. I don't see even one mayoral candidate I trust to feed my cats while I was out of town. Marc Dion. I'm telling you. And he points out something we've pointed out for a long time. He says, this is a blood sport. And it is. This is an absolute blood sport.
Yeah, but he says, do me a favor, he doesn't believe it. He says this is not, but he goes on to talk about, Richard Cabaceres, give him a chance. You can be the new Jazel Correa. How's that for an endorsement?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Jazel Correa, he goes on the attack. Guns firing bravely into his foot.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Linda Perry, yeah, elected, hey, gets Linda Perry is the official candidate of people who wish it was 1972. Well, you know something? It was a lot better in 72 in Fall River. But, you know, look, he makes, you know, the point of this is you've got to look at what they're doing. You've got to look at what they're saying. Not, you know, and you've got to make sure that you can hold their feet to the fire. Now, obviously, Richard Cabaceres and Linda Pereira have not been mayor. So when they say they're gonna, you know, if they offer their plans to change things, that you have to make a conscious decision whether you want to support them or not. And then you're gonna have to determine whether, in fact, they follow through on what they've said. And that's the problem, as we've seen. You know, a lot of people voted for Jazel over Sutter because he was putting forth a message. And I believe in the Weekend Flush, you covered the financial promises of, you know, and of fiscal responsibility that basically didn't do anything. You
Right.
know, he did take a pay cut, but it wasn't for the length he said. He didn't reduce the salaries. He actually increased the salaries. And I know he's going to say, oh, I paid the chief of staff less. Well, you know, the chief of staff wasn't a full-time position, and the guy had restrictions on how much he could make.
Right.
So the only reason these guys don't have, you know, although Joe Macy does have nearly a six-figure salary, he's like $92,000, but of course he can make a lot more money under the law because of the tremendous pension he's got. But the reality is, none of the stuff he had in that little flyer, you know, have come to fruition. So, again, you know, this guy has actually got a track record as mayor. If you're satisfied with the direction he's taking the city, then you vote for him. If you're one of the people who comes up to CJ or I and says, you know, I can't see spending $10 million on streetscapes, sprucing up a town that doesn't have anybody in it and no money to spend, you know, while the streets look like Fallujah. You know, I'm sick and tired of tax increases and fee increases every single year, and we get less and less services. So, you know, this is the whole thing. This is the point of the electoral process, you know, and I know some people don't agree. They have a different philosophy. And, you know, my philosophy always is, you know, you support a candidate based, you know, you give somebody, unless you really know that they're pathological liars, but you support somebody based on it, you know, on what they're saying they're going to do. You have to give them, unless they've been in and they have a record, if they're, you know, trying to get a different office, you can say, okay, this is your plan, and they say, absolutely, this is what I'm going to do, and you think it's a reasonable plan, well, you support them. And then, if you don't agree, if they don't do what they say, you replace them. See, my philosophy has always been, if they're not doing a job, get them out. And I've heard a lot of people, you know, I've entered into debates, some of them very lively, about people saying, well, you know, why get somebody else in? You know the person. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. Well, not when it's running the city into the, you know, into the abyss. And my philosophy is make political office a revolving door, that you're only going to get one term from us unless you listen to us. Unless you work for the people of Fall River, have some consideration for the taxpayer. Realize the kind of burden you're putting on people who are elderly on fixed incomes, who own homes and are barely hanging on to them. And if they didn't have their mortgage fully paid, they would have been gone a long time ago. Those homes would have been up for sale. Have some compassion. And that's, you know, that's the reality. But that's my philosophy. I mean, some people just go, no. You know, I'm loyal to this guy, and I don't care if he, you know, walks in and shoots 50 people in McDonald's. You know, he's my guy, and I got to support my guy no matter what he does. So, and you're entitled to that. I disagree, but That's the way it is.
But that's what happens when we get the people in office that we get, because people can't see beyond their own thought process. They have to look beyond their feelings, their emotions. They have to think with common sense.
Yeah.
And until they start thinking with common sense, taking off the rose-colored glasses, looking at the picture realistically, and saying, this is what this guy said, A, B, C, and D. This is the end of his term. Here's what he's accomplished. Nothing. So why should I believe anything he says now, because last time he said it, he didn't do anything? No, instead they say, well, he tried to do that. Don't make excuses. Don't make excuses, because when you make excuses, you get crap.
Yeah, and it's been beyond excuses, CJ. You know that. I mean, we may be the only community in the entire country that ever elected a mayor whose platform for re-election was, look, I did everything wrong my first term.
Yeah, I remember that one.
You know, so, but give me a chance. I'll do better the next time. And they elected him. And, you know, and then they wonder why the city, you know, then they wonder why the city had an $8 million deficit to follow, in the second term. You know, he proved he didn't know where he was going in his first term, and then he pleads for sympathy. Well, like I said, we've said it a million times on the show. You don't go to a car mechanic that can't fix your car. You don't call an air conditioning mechanic in the middle of a heat wave that can't fix your air conditioner. So, I mean, why do we continue to elect people who don't do what they say and don't have any idea? I mean, let's look at history. If we don't learn from it, we're doomed to repeat it. For a while there, they were marching people up in front of the council and actually tried to sell the idea that you should understand that taxes and fees should be increased every year. That's just the way it is. Really? Mr. Goebbels was right. If you tell a big enough lie often enough, people may begin to believe it. People were listening to this garbage. Wake up. Study some history. What does every economist, every leader said? Winston Churchill, you can't tax your way to prosperity. Trying to tax your way to prosperity is like standing in a bucket and trying to lift the bucket by the handles while you're standing in it. It doesn't work. Milton Friedman, Nobel Prize winning economist. Taxes have a negative impact on economies. I mean, then we have Fall River and the propaganda squad marching in front of the Fall River City Council and selling this pack of lies. I mean, all you got to do is walk down the street and walk over the line to Westport. Try to sell that to the Westport taxpayers. They'll lynch you. Try to go to a town meeting and misspend their tax dollars. They'll be there with pitchforks and torches to burn you at the stake. Small towns that have to really watch their money have always been more proactive in stopping this insanity. It seems like cities like Fall River, people they either just don't care, they have the attitude, well, there's nothing I can do. Well, there is something you can do. Get off your butt and vote. Get your neighbor to get off their butt. Instead of saying, woe is me, there's nothing we can do, remember that we, the people, the voters, determine our own government and the efficiency of that government.
Really? Wow. I like that. Well, as many people probably read over the weekend, Monica Sousa's out.
But she's not.
But she's not. See, again, and I love this article because it's wrong in so many ways. For instance,
politics.
Yep. It says the CDA Community Development Outreach Coordinator was last held by Monica Souza, a campaign worker for Correa, who was hired last July. When he came into office, Correa dismissed then Neighborhood Outreach Coordinator Nick Camara, which is true. Nick Camara works for Bay Coast Bank. But they failed to mention Anthony. Do you remember Anthony?
Yeah.
They didn't mention him that the mayor hired, who was totally unqualified. Totally unqualified. Hey, Anthony, how's it going out there? What are you doing for work now? I want to know. And Monica has had allegations against her of selling tickets to the mayor's events, acting as the mayor's secretary, doing his press scheduling, hanging signs, doing all of this on the city time, which is a violation of state Mass General Law 55 and federal regulations that govern community development. Is this mayor truly looking to get us barred from receiving any community development block grant money?
Well, he's, you know, this is what really, really gets me. I mean, God, it's so obviously political. Now, there were pictures posted of her being a political operative for the mayor at a neighborhood association,
right,
when she was the neighborhood coordinator. Now,
right,
that's a direct violation of, as you said, state, federal law. You know, her job description, to cite a very minor one, like this is your job to be a coordinator. But she's been a political operative for the mayor. So it says now, but now that position may be, I like the word, quote, reconfigured, unquote. That's a fancy word for, I'm taking this out where somebody who runs a federally funded agency might be upset that she's not doing her job, and it's going to be handled by my office, so I can pay her to be a neighborhood coordinator who's also a political operative for me. So as she goes to the neighborhood association, she can hand out my campaign flyers and my propaganda while she's coordinating with the neighborhoods.
And here's where
or interacting with the neighborhoods.
Now here's where political butt kissing, I wanted to say another word, but I decided to not to, okay, comes into play here. Representative Alan Sylvia, and we know how much Alan supports this mayor, okay, who is president of the South End Neighborhood Association, which I think he shouldn't be, but that's another story, couldn't attend Thursday's meeting, but is familiar with the possible changes. I've always advocated having a neighborhood coordinator. I think it's important to have someone to listen to what's happening in the neighborhoods and what are the needs of the people, Sylvia said. It's how information is filtered to the administration. Bull hockey, baloney,
yeah. Crapo.
That's right. Major
Crapola.
crap. And this is what happens. I can't even trust my state representative now. Okay? I can't even trust him. Now he's done two things.
Also, neighborhood association president, which, as you said, I agree he shouldn't be in. But listen, I hate to tell you this, Alan, but you're old enough, because I know you've been retired for a while, and then you went up to the State House and you unretired. You remembered when we had very, very active neighborhood associations, Kathy Assad and the Flint. We've had many, many people. Audrey Poitras in Niagara neighborhood. I remember being pressed into service to having a cookout and cooking hot dogs and stuff at a thing with Mayor Ed Lambert. They put us right on a grill together, even though we were having, but you know, they were fine without the neighborhood coordinator.
Right.
Audrey Poitras never had a problem if she had a complaint or she wanted some issues to making a meeting with the mayor and speaking him to directly, as did Kathy Assad. No neighborhood ever had a problem gaining access to a mayor's office because obviously they controlled a big block of votes. But Alan, our state representative, you can tell he's been in Boston for a while. What does he do? They love bureaucracy. Add another layer. He said that it's how information is filtered to the administration. There's the big word, filtered.
Right.
Filtered. That means it's been sanitized or it's been altered. You want the mayor to know how you feel, walk into his office and tell him so he can listen to your words as you spoke them. Alan, be ashamed. Hang your head.
He really
You've
should.
become a pathetic politician. All you know how to do is add another position. Get another layer. So now the mayor is going to get filtered information. Filtered doesn't mean accurate. This position from the get-go has been a load of political crap. It was given to an absolute political hack initially, Perry Long.
Who cracked it up?
And then he was replaced by one political hack after another.
Definitely.
To say that we need a neighborhood coordinator, why don't we get an assistant neighborhood coordinator and an assistant to the assistant? Because that's what our state representatives do. They put one layer of bureaucracy upon another layer of bureaucracy, and we wonder why we can't save a dime in this community. There's no longer any attempt to provide the necessary and essential services to the public, but all we do is pay people for political hack jobs.
Yep. And you know, I think the Niagara Neighborhood Association President Helen Rago said it best. She doesn't think any of the neighborhood leaders were surprised to learn that the administration was possibly doing away with the position. Quote, "Personally, I don't think we need it. If we have a problem, we can forward the information to the mayor's office," Rigo said, who said she questioned the effectiveness of this position. What is she, the only neighborhood leader who doesn't have her head up the mayor's backside?
Well, you know, one thing about Helen, we both know Helen. Helen has never been bashful, and I that's why I like her. She's kind of like us. She doesn't care, and she's going to tell it like it is, and she's right, because as I said at the beginning of this diatribe, the fact is that before we had these political hacks, there was never a neighborhood association that ever had a problem interacting with the mayor. I never saw Audrey Poitras. As a matter of fact, like I said, I was on a grill right alongside Eddie Lambert when we were beating each other up over collective bargaining agreements, and we were there at Pulaski Park at a Niagara Neighborhood Association thing. And the fact is that there was never a problem. Neighborhood associations have never had a problem, and that's the way it should be.
That's
you
right.
got a complaint, walk into the mayor's office, get a meeting, and tell them what you got to say.
It's craziness. But you know, now I love the excuse now, because here we go. Here's the propaganda, here's the line, here's shoveling. I got my hip boots on for this one, okay? Moving a neighborhood liaison's position and the salary out of CDA will also free up money for Correa's new housing policy initiative, which he said his administration has been working on the past 6 months.
Yeah.
CDA already has multiple housing programs, and Correa said he's been working with local nonprofits, here we go again, people who don't pay taxes, that are also working in the housing arena. He met with representatives of those nonprofits for their input into the housing initiative on Thursday in a separate meeting. Correa said a public announcement of the details of the housing initiative would be coming in the near future. Isn't that everything he has to say? I have this great plan, but I can't talk about it right now. But you're going to like it. I have this great initiative, but I can't talk about it right now, but you're going to like it. You know what? Why don't you not tell us anything, and then when you're ready to get your line of bull in order, then give us the announcement.
Well, the only thing I see out of this whole thing, we get to the last line, and this is it. This is it in a nutshell. Correa said a public announcement for details of the housing initiative would be coming in the near future. That will include an alternative to a neighborhood coordinator. So now we're going to take Monica, his pseudo campaign manager, and give her a job where she's not going to be overseen by somebody who might have to turn her in for not doing her job under federal law and being a campaign operative rather than a neighborhood coordinator. So she's gonna go under the protective umbrella of the mayor's office, and we're gonna get an alternative, which means another job. Alan should be really happy about that. You know, another layer of political jobs. Forget about putting another clerk in to take your money when you go pay your water bill. You got to stand in line that wraps around the second floor 6 times, you know. But no, let's not actually use our tax money to actually subsidize essential things like that. You know, let's not spend any money on equipment for fire or police. Let's not spend any kind of money on that. We have to bond for everything. Forget it. You know, it's like it's only been what, 25 years since I told them to implement a program where we bought apparatus on an ongoing basis and rotated the fleet. But no, They don't do that. What do? I remember years ago, I think you do too. Bob Connors went before the council, and we were supposed to actually set aside a special account to deal with potholes and streets.
And that account still exists today, I believe.
Yeah, and it does exist. And when's the last time we ever had anything in it or used it for actually to deal with streets and potholes?
Well, here's the kicker.
Never.
Here's the kicker. How much money's in there that they forgot about?
That's right. Wouldn't be the first time. But, you know, this is your government. Love it or change it.
Now, this one here I have to say, because this is really telling the great FU to the taxpayer, the great FU to city residents, especially the great FU to a state representative and to the people of the North End. Fundraising underway as SSTAR finalizes Weaver Street purchase. Even after the people said, we don't want you there. Even after the state representative said, we don't want you there.
So what do they say back? We don't care what you want.
We don't care what you want. We're going to go where we want to go. And I'll guarantee you, if they have to apply for a zoning board variance, it's going to get approved, because those guys violate the law every meeting, because the law says they can only do it for two reasons. One is topography or soil, and the other is hardship. And if you create the hardship, it is not a hardship. So when you buy a property, you know it's zoned industrial, then it's industrial. You can't change it.
Will you please stop quoting laws?
I know.
You know that stuff doesn't apply in Fall River.
Nope.
This is a no-law zone.
That's right. Really is. And you know, that's the sad part about it. We are so lost in this city. And that's why things like cutting off our nose to spite our face in Massachusetts is a great thing to do. And I'm not picking on Mike Mioza. I understand he was a grieving parent. I am picking on Alan Sylvia because I explained to him exactly what he's going to do. They got May signed in as Seatbelt Awareness Month, except for the fact that the federal government has June set as Seatbelt Awareness Month. Mike did this because his granddaughter died. You know, I'm very sorry that happened, because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and it happened in May. But federal money is available for June. Now, when we do this, and the governor was told, the state representative was told, the state house was told by people who know, like the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, the Massachusetts Department of Public Safety, the federal department, the U.S. Department of Transportation, that if they do this, they will not be able to get qualifying dollars for seatbelt enforcement, because theirs is in June, not May. But they did it anyways. So this is how your state representative, this is how political hacks, political whores, do what they want for their feelings, for how they feel better. And the 1,000 people who signed that petition not knowing what the hell they were signing, shame on you.
Well,
hang your head in shame.
You know, these are the state representatives that gave themselves $35 million worth of pay raises.
That's right.
While the state faced a $400 million
430.
Yeah, well, 400 million plus. But I mean, you know, that 30 million among friends is kind of flexible. You have to do the finite numbers. But let's say a deficit in excess of $400 million, but they made sure they got a $35 million pay raise.
Right.
So, you know, this is the problem. You know, as we said at the top of the show, look, it's an election year. Look at what people are saying they're going to do. If they don't have a track record, you have to look at what they're going to say, hold them accountable. If they don't, like I said, make every elected office a revolving door. You don't do what the people want, you're gone after one term.
That's it.
Hey, stay angry. Have a good week. We'll see you on Hump Day.
We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.